Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session of Talking Tech and Women and Girls in ICT. And so we're really thrilled with the ITU to have invited both Elisa Torres and myself. I'm Monique Morrow, and I'm co-founder of the Humanized Internet, co-founder and president. And with me is Elisa Torres, who is actually, she is going to talk about what's the wonderful thing she's doing in Girls in Quantum and about her career, which is so sorting at this point in time. And so I'm going to hand it over to you, Elisa. Please go ahead and say more a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go right to your three questions that you'd like to ask of me.
Totally.
But I'm going to go to my questions I want to ask of you too, as we started out.
Excellent. Great. Well, first of all, thank you for the introduction. I'm really happy to be here. First of all, I'm more than happy to be with you, Monique. You're such a powerful woman. So I'm really encouraged by you and inspired. So I believe it's mutual inspiration. So thank you so much. And well, I'm Elisa Torres. I'm 17 years old. I live in Chile. I'm from Chile, and I'm the founder of Girls in Quantum, international organization that focuses on democratizing the education of quantum computing.
Oh my gosh, she's my hero.
Thank you.
Well, go ahead. I mean, so Elisa, I think you have a couple of questions you wanted to ask of me, and I'm so thrilled to, as I said before, having this opportunity to discuss about what you're doing and where you intend to go. And of course, my home modality is to be able to learn from you too. So.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Well, Monique, I know that you've been really involved in different technological industries and companies and organizations, and you have like so many patents and everything, and I'm like really so amazed by you. But I also want to ask you, how do you get involved into technology? That's like a question that I had at the beginning, and if you were always thinking in going into STEM.
Well, excellent question. And I always like to say that I'm this accidental engineer. I think in the beginning, I wanted to actually be a diplomat. I had this undergraduate degree in French and geography. And as I think times progressed, I fell in love with technology. I fell in love with what you could do with technology. So these were the growing times of the internet itself, and got into networking. And I think sort of the rest is a history for me. And I also believe that I like to understand what I don't know, Elisa. So I went off and got some degrees, and I continue to, by the way, in some of the spaces that I'm quite interested in. So first I started out in something else, and I moved into something else, which is technology. And STEM is so valuable. And I continue to advocate for STEM because I think it's such an important component of our society. And so that's what got me into the space. I will say this, that having a very eclectic, different background helps me even more. So I think you need diplomacy in some of the things that I do, especially in the standards organization.
Totally. Well, and that's great, because sometimes it's like, in my case, for example, it's like always like being into a certain field. So having like this sort of a different mindset, and then also like experience in terms of that you were thinking like nothing related with STEM. That's also like a good thing for other women that perhaps might be into another topic that is not STEM, but perhaps they can get to know that it's possible to get involved in this wonderful field as well. And well, in relation with that question, I was wondering, what is your main key, like your takeaway from this? Because you're being like in these different industries, you have different experiences, perhaps anecdotes. What's your key takeaway?
Difficult to say what the key takeaway will be or is, because it continues, right? So, as I said before, I'm continually what we call pivoting in other industries. And so, my key takeaway from this discussion is to continue our discussion, that's for sure. But for example, there are things that I'm quite interested in, that I'm quite active right now. I'm in standards organizations, but I'm also involved in developing standards and narratives around the metaverse and metaverse systems, which is kind of a component of what we're hearing nowadays. What does that mean? How do we define it? What are the attributes of it? which are underpinning technologies you can imagine, like there's blockchain and there's artificial intelligence and there's learning techniques, learning mechanisms, etc. So that's one aspect of what I'm doing. I think the other aspect is, as I said before, learning is lifelong. So I was just recently accepted into a PhD program, which will take me another 3 years, but I can do it part-time, which is in cyber psychology. It's a new discipline, and Dr. Mary Aiken has been great in terms of encouraging me to go into the program at Capital Tech University in Maryland. I think that what's kind of to kind of look at it in terms of what you're doing, especially for girls in quantum and quantum computing, there's a lot going on in that space. And so thinking about what does quantum safe mean? How do you have this intersectionality with security? What does it mean for the infrastructure? What does it mean for, not just the computing part is one aspect of it, but how do you create security around it? So that's kind of the spaces that I'm looking at and kind of where I'm at in the areas that you've pointed out. But it continues, surely continues,
Yeah,
for sure.
certainly, I imagine. And yeah, well, in terms of that, well, you mentioned that you're involved in different STEM organizations, and I really admire you by that. That's like the main thing, and so happy to like have these opportunities to share what you're doing, what we're doing at Girls in Quantum. So in terms of that, what would you recommend the next generation? What would be your advice? Because, for example, in my case, I'm fortunate enough to get to know, for example, quantum computing or different topics, as you were saying, metaverse and different technologies. So what would you recommend the next
I
generation?
think, well, for your generation, I mean, my goodness, keep doing what you're doing. That's one thing. And I think one of the things I wanted to say, because, it is like this in the sort of the natural discussion is, tell me about you. I mean, how did you get into technology? What are you doing in Girls in Quantum? Let's talk about that. So your generation is, it's just amazing what the art of the possible is. For me, it's be persistent, keep going at it, keep going after your passion. I call it a passion. I don't mean to say in the terms of passion, but it is something that you clearly have been very, very focused on, and creating a community that is global. So I'd like to, my first two questions for you, Elisa, is how did you get into technology? Number one. Number two is, tell us a little bit about Girls in Quantum and what you're doing in this space and how you've actually expanded it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I think that I got into technology because of my parents and also like my curiosity. I'm really like this kind of person or students that really want to like get to know the world, if I can say it like that. So I've been like, for example, playing since I was a child with soil, with plants and things like that. I had like this mess in my room, and I was like, always wondering, why do things work like that, or like why are these things like this, or how does this work? So always wondering many questions about how things works. So it was like really about questioning myself about everything. I remember in my class, and I still do, like, hi, like, teacher, could you explain me more about this? Or always like going into like further with explanations. So it's always being involved into science that led me to, oh, I can actually find the answers. But as well, my parents taught me that, hey, there's technology out there. You can like really also take advantage of technology to solve also other solutions. So that's the key thing for me. It's like, oh my god, I can take these two things and combine them and yeah, do something with it. And that's like my enthusiasm for it, my passion, as you mentioned, led me to just found Girls in Quantum.
Mhm.
Um, well, I founded Girls in Quantum in April of 2022, so it's pretty recently. I cannot believe that we've been like almost a year, and it has been like many things. But yeah, I'm really excited because this organization, as I mentioned before, promotes more female in the field of quantum computing because of the current gender gap that is right now. So we want to encourage more females to become involved of STEM, and especially
Mhm.
quantum. And yeah, we have like this sort of community out there that wants to support other women, that can, for example, connect them with mentors and other students that are currently interested and passionate about quantum. yeah, that's our goal right now. And I'm really thrilled to have these opportunities, talking with people like you and sharing, of course, like a little bit of my story so people can get inspired.
Well, so, I mean, so to kind of to summarize here, you have had, you have support from the home, which is so important. I can't, I mean, and you're curious, you're quite engaged at school, and now you've developed this whole organization. I go to your website and I'm just amazed. I mean, you've got Girls in Quantum and India, I think it is, and you've got them in Egypt, ambassadors, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, wow. I mean, so for the viewers here, you have to go to Girls in Quantum Computing. You have to go to Elisa Torres' site and see what she's doing in this space. It's so professionally done. But I mean, that was something that I mean, and it's so important, to create the narrative. And you're right, you said it. There's not enough women in space. We have to have more girls in the space. We have to be the face of our communities and the face of the society. And sometimes I'm told we don't have, we can, when you don't have to stop to talk, when we, it's in our DNA and organizationally is when we can stop to talk about it per se. But we still have a way to go. And I can imagine somebody raising their hand and saying, well, what about boys in quantum? I mean, have you had that in the classroom where boys have raised their hand and said, well, we're interested in boys in quantum too. We want to be part of the girls in quantum community. Has that happened?
Yeah, totally. Well, people are in my class are really curious too. Well, I always tell them about quantum computing and things like that, but they are always like wondering, "Hey, Lisa, could you explain me more about that? Or how can I be involved? Or what is this? Would this affect like I don't know my jobs or things like that?" So it's really fun to have like these sort of discussions with them.
That is so cool. I mean, gosh almighty. I think that as you as you were you're 17 years old now. I believe you started this when you were 16 years old. I mean, I think about when I was 16, I was like, what was I doing? I was just trying to figure everything out. But here you are, you just really are looking at how you influence and impact a world and the community. So that's why I said I'm so excited to and humbled to meet you. Um, but I think that it's also about imagine now, what are your next plans? What are your next plans in tech? What do you see yourself as? What's a project going along and what's the next step for you?
Totally. Well, I will continue with what you said. So in
Yeah,
terms of
go ahead.
like perhaps having well I have this organization that I'm totally thankful to have these collaborators, perhaps organizations that are collaborating with us, and also so talented girls and students. That's like really inspiring for me. Like every time I get an email from them, they're like, "Hey Lisa, we want to do this, we got to make this project," and I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." That's like so good. That really like makes me smile. And also like I'm still like, even though we have like this organization and we're currently doing projects, I'm currently asking myself like, I'm kind of lost because sometimes I want to like, perhaps I can do like, I can be involved in science or I can be in technology. So it's like really, I'm right now I'm in the moment of processing everything and taking like this sort of a time to process what I want to do in the future.
Mhm.
I know that I want to be, for example, in a STEM field. I'm considering, for example, now studying bioengineering and keep, of course, having this organization. That's my main goal. Continue with the organization, and yeah, continue to inspire more females, but also having the possibility to bring these opportunities to other countries and other people. There are like many wonderful women out there that I know that if we can work together, because that's the most important thing that I've learned, like teamwork. If we work together, this could be awesome. This could be even more good than it is right now with the organization. So I look forward to that, to pursuing a degree in science or in technology, to continue with the organization and also collaborating with more females.
So that is so cool because you're taking a time away to say, okay, I think I can be a bioengineer. I mean, or scientist or scientist. I mean, you can actually sort of have this merging of these technologies to go into a space that you're quite interested in and quite curious in. And now I can imagine, oh, now it's about time. It's college, looking at colleges and stuff of the nature. So I would like to know, okay, what would you want to do as a scientist? Why in bioengineering? What's the problem that you think you would like to solve? Imagining that. And is college the next step? Or is the university the next step for you?
Yeah. Of course. Well, I always like that's a great question. I think my parents have always told me to dream big. That's
Mhm.
the thing. Not for being like the word ambitious. It's more from being like, hey, you have like this path to pursue. You can like do whatever you want, but you have to be as well. You have to build like these actions. You have to like plan the steps that you have to take in order to get to that goal. So I'm really looking forward to, okay, so now I founded this organization. It's so great. I really want to continue with this. And in university, I want to potentiate like the networks that I have, perhaps to collaborate with more people like in person. I have the opportunity to meet, for example, you at virtual, but perhaps sometimes we can meet in person and can create other projects. That will be great. And I also, in terms of bioengineering, I would like to use it in terms of perhaps founding a startup. That could be awesome.
Oh my goodness, that is cool. A startup.
Of course, I'm really into learning more about entrepreneurship. Well, now with Girls in Quantum, I've learned like I oh, as anyone, I have done some mistakes, and that's good. That's like the failures make you yourself, and that's the good thing. But I would really like to like perhaps I can pursue, for example, an engineer degree and afterwards found a startup and continue with this business, and at the same time perhaps continue with Girls in Quantum. So that's my goal right now. I would really like to inspire to that. I know that there's like a lot of steps before that, but I'm sure that that's one of my goals right now.
And I think that, it's always, and I think the thing that your parents have instilled in you is that thinking big is a great, I think it's a great principle to adhere, is thinking big. Nothing is sort of impossible unless you put the impossible around it, right?
Exactly.
And I have a similar kind of sort of a mode a tenet, which is, your comfort zone is out there. It's not within your comfort zone, right? So when you're comfortable, it means that it's time to do something different, right? So,
Exactly. That's right. I also, well, in that terms, that led me to my other questions to you.
uh-huh.
So I wanted to ask you, like, do you remember one point in throughout your careers, just one that, well, I know that you have many, so one may be difficult, one may be difficult, but one point that you remember now, that, well, you took like this big step out of your comfort zone.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I think one big step was when I accepted an opportunity to actually go and be like a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, in Asia Pacific, completely out of my comfort zone. When you're
Wow.
living in and completely different. I mean, and with the responsibility of having half of the world, right? So it was, at the time, China and India and Southeast Asia and Japan and Australia and New Zealand. So it was with the company I've been working at, Cisco, which I worked at Cisco Systems for almost 17 years. And that was really a big leap because I was just promoted to being a distinguished engineer, and then I thought, then this opportunity came up to build something new, build a team, and that was absolutely out of my comfort zone. I mean, it was absolutely, it was cultural differences, new cultures. It was half the world's population, and so you're learning the cultural nuances in each of these countries, and so I would say that would be one example of moving out of my comfort zone. Had I not done that, and that's the what we call the reverse question, I would never have been able to have meet such wonderful colleagues in the industry globally and to understand the scaling problems that we see globally. And so it was truly a humbled experience, but I had to think about it I had to think about it, but it was
Yeah.
great.
Well, I imagine like having this like step to like assuming that role. Well, I admit that that must be challenging, but yeah.
I would think, to be candid, I think that your career, your path, and this is something I always say, and it's my own example.
Yeah.
will never be linear.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a kind of a zigzag, right? You'll start out being the bioengineer and scientist. Maybe you don't know. You'll go into entrepreneur. You may startup. You'll be doing multiple. You may do something in between that leads you to do to start but always with thinking big, in mind. But it's never a linear. It's never I'm going to do this and then I know. It's always great to have the plan, and you should have a plan. You've got to have a plan, but bear in mind that those plans could be shifting. There, sort of a variety of reasons, and so, but I think that's something to keep in mind. Yeah. No, that's the and the last thing I will not last thing, but one thing I will say, Elisa,
Yeah.
if you don't move out of your comfort zone constantly, somebody will push you, and or something or some event. And it's always to say, am I too comfortable here? Should I be doing so? Am I too comfortable? But that's something in the back of the mind to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, related with that sort of quote, I remember that someone told me like the same, but in other words, it was like I they work with someone related that was writing for scripts in movies, and
Yeah.
they told them like, oh, you told me that, right?
I did.
Yeah, you told me that. So if you don't, that that has been like a great message to me, because I really want to repeat that again, if you let me. So
Please.
so if you don't write your own script, someone will write it to you, and that's like a thing that I has really like, oh my god, impacted me. So thank you for telling me that. So thank you for that, because that's really like, oh my god, this is true. Like if you get back to think about this, it's like if I do not take this step, something or someone will force me to take this path, and perhaps, who knows, have a completely different life. So I think that that's a message that I also would leave, like in terms of what you said, just that, but in other words, because that's like really my I don't know, like mind blowing for me.
It was somebody who's involved in movies in Hollywood, and it's true. It's if you don't write your own script, a script may be written for you and you may not like it, and it's always being in charge. It's sort of kind of in charge of your own scripting, and your own path, and setting your path and charting your path along the way. And you are on that. You are on a great trajectory. I mean, it's just so impressive of what you're doing, and so yeah. I think
Uh,
we have what probably a few minutes, maybe a 5 more minutes, time. Um, I would like to. One thing I wanted to ask you, because you asked me about the next generation. We kind of went back and forth a little bit on your dreams and your vision, where you want to go. All right. So one question I'd like to think about is, do you, Elisa, do you have any messages for other young women or girls that you would like to have who are in tech, or maybe girls, women, organizations? What would you like to share? What is the message you want them to take away from what you're doing?
yeah.
This is Elisa's message to the world, fundamentally.
Yeah, well, I have like some of one, but with two sort of messages. So first of all, one thing that has really changed me, that it's like a thing that no one like sometimes pay attention to it. It's boredom. So it's really important to sometimes take this time to be bored. So it's not frequently heard, but it's like sometimes we need to pay attention in this, because for me boredom has been crazy, because I can be curious with that. I can be like, what can I do now? What I can explore, I can get to know myself better. So I would say that one thing that it's like my main takeaway is like, don't be afraid to be bored. That's my first thing. Like, we have a lot of things to explore, no matter you're adult, you're a child. Don't be afraid to be bored, and
Okay.
because that makes you discover many different pathways. And the second thing is that if you like something, you can make this difference with other people. So I'm passionate about quantum computing. I have a lot to learn. There's like a whole world out there that even scientists do not understand, and I'm wondering like, oh my god, there's like a whole things that I need to know. constantly, every day, new updates, new discoveries, new advancements. However, I think that it's important that, okay, I'm really liking this. I'm really passionate about learning more. I have this community out there. So why can I, like, as a student who is 17 years old, can I do a difference by including more females in the field, including my community, including other students? That's my main message, and I hope that this could be, I don't know, helpful for someone. But it's really important to be bored, understand yourself, get to know you better, and also make the difference impacting your community with what you like, with what you're passionate about.
Oh my gosh, Elisa, you summarized it so beautifully, so well. And I will to promise you one thing, we will meet face to face. I
That's
know we will meet face to face. So what I want to do is just to say thank you so very much, Elisa. This was a great opportunity to have our discussion, share a discussion, especially for such an important Women in History Month. And what I'd like to also say to wrap it up for both of us is to thank the ITU for this opportunity to have to share the way it could be, and also some really great advice and recommendations, right? So the world is just open for all of us, and to create the path we want to be, or to create the world we want to have and not the one we want to wish to avoid. So I
that's
really enjoyed our chat. I want to thank you so very much, and looking forward to the next time.
totally, Monique. I'm more than happy once again to be here with you, like talking. It's such a great opportunity for everyone who wants to know you, who wants to be inspired. So really, really thankful for the opportunity from ITU, and also being with you and talking about great things together. So thank you for being an inspiring and powerful woman. And yeah, more than thankful. And I look forward for the next opportunity.
Have an awesome, awesome afternoon and a great start of your week. Take care, Lisa.
You
Ciao.
too. Bye.